Daniel?
Oh!
Good Day with Daniel Bennett.
Good day.
Well, good day. My name is Daniel Bennett. It's great to have you join us for another episode today. And I think you're going to enjoy this episode. I have some near and dear to my heart topic today about the difference between distractions and inspiration, between procrastination and preparation. So I want to talk about that, but a couple other things. First, if you haven't gotten it yet, I encourage you to go to gooddayGTN.com to get this free booklet. It says How to Become a Water Walker by Andrew Wommack. It talks about stepping out of faith, living by faith. It's kind of an intro. He has a much longer teaching on this subject, but these free booklets are a great little intro for it. They can be a great gift for others also. So I encourage you to go check that out. You can get the free booklet, the physical copy, or a digital copy. You can get that one right away. So I hope you do. You can also always call our phone center at 719-635-1111. It's open 24/7, and I really encourage you to check that out. They can help you find resources. They can pray with you. If you want to partner with us or anything like that, you can talk with them about that also. So, like I said, our main topic today will be about distractions versus inspiration. But first, I want to do a quick little topical study. I want to do 3 quotes and 3 scriptures on fear. So, we'll just jump right in. This first one is by Eleanor Roosevelt, and she says, "Do one thing every day that scares you." And I like this one. I'm not, it's not a law that you have to, but I really think that one of the ways to grow, if you want to grow a lot in life, you can't just sit back and just go through the same routine you're comfortable with every single day. If you're not stepping out of your comfort zone, right, how to become a water walker, taking risks, stepping out of the boat, doing things that you've never done before, things that could go wrong, things where you could fail. If you're never doing that, then you're really limiting yourself, right? Again, you know this already, but Peter, he stepped out of the boat and sank, but the others didn't even step out of the boat. And then Peter did get to walk back to the boat with Jesus. And so when I read that story, I'd much rather be Peter than the other guys. I'd rather be the one who says, I'm going to try it even if I fail. I was reading a book once, or something. It was a book. And the lady was saying that in her family, they celebrated noble failure, where around the dinner table, every single evening, they would, the dad would say, tell me something you failed at today. And then they would celebrate it. It's like, if you're not failing, you're not trying anything new. You should keep trying new things and pushing yourself and trying to grow to the point where, you'll mess up. And if you don't see it as failure, you just see it as a temporary setback, then that's a great mindset. So I like, do one thing every day that scares you. It's a great quote. Number 2. And by the way, doing things that scare you, that's not just extreme sports, things like that. Doing things that scare you could also be forgiving somebody that you're like, well, but I don't know if I can forgive this person, or being kind to somebody, or being generous, right? So it's proactive and reactive. So number 2, by Ralph Waldo Emerson, fear defeats more people than any other one thing in the world. And that's another really good one. I haven't seen these in a long time. I grabbed some a long time ago and then look at them now. But fear defeats more people. It's kind of like how you've probably heard Andrew say that the most potential you'll ever find is in the cemetery, right? Is that fear holds people back. So many people have so much potential. They could do so many amazing things, and then fear stops them. And I've never met anybody who doesn't have potential, because if you're made in God's image, you have potential. And so I used to think that only a few people had this call of like, I feel called to do great things. Then I found out everyone has that, just only if some people actually go for it. So, most people have it and they just kind of suppress it and say like, what if things go wrong? I should just play it safe. Why learn a skill for the career that I really want when I could just keep doing my current job that I already know and stay comfortable? So that's a good quote. Number 3, fears are educated into us and can, if we wish, be educated out. It's by Carl Menninger. I guess I'd half agree with this one. Many fears are passed on from others, but I also think that just our fallen nature, right? And being separated from God, that fears our instinct in many ways. And so we can train ourselves, but I think that it's not just a mental thing. I think that we need to be set free for real. You'll know the truth, and the truth will make you free. So I think in some ways it's not just about education, but it's also about something happening for real on the inside of us. So 3 scriptures on fear. And this isn't a full teaching. I'm just kind of touching on this at a surface level. You can dive in more on your own if you're intrigued. So Isaiah 41 verse 10 says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I'll uphold you with my righteous right hand." All right, and this, when I was growing up, the beginning of this is one of the most well-known scriptures to many people, at least for me. But fear not, for I am with you. There's a whole song about it even, actually. And that's going to be a theme here. But that's the reason why we don't need to be afraid. It's not just that we have confidence, right? We live in a fallen world. Bad things happen. There's sin, there's selfishness, there's, just chaos and things like that have entered the world because of sin. So it's not that we shouldn't be afraid just because, I'm just not going to be afraid even though bad things will happen. The whole reason why we can live a fearless life is if God is with us. If God's not with us, you really should be afraid, but God is with you. And so, here God's saying, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God." It really comes from knowing God. And it's kind of like in Daniel where it says those who know their God will be strong and do great exploits. It's when you know God, you're not afraid and you can do these amazing things. So the next one, Joshua 1 verse 9, he says, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid nor be dismayed. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." So I really like this. And if you think about it, again, God is saying this to Joshua when he's already an old man. So Moses has died and Joshua's about to take over. But, Joshua, when he was a young man, probably 20 something, when he was a younger man, he was one of the 2 spies. He was one of the 2 spies who wasn't afraid, who had faith. But all these years went by and God knew he needed encouragement because he was stepping into a whole new level, right? When he was a young man, he was ready. He's like, "Let's go, let's do this thing." And now that it's finally time to go, God's like, "You need encouragement." So God, Jesus met him, said, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid. All right, I'll be with you wherever you go." And so just Joshua knowing like, okay, now that Moses is gone, knowing that God will be with me also, that was a big deal. The third one here, 1 John 4 verse 18, says, "There's no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear because fear involves torment. But he who fears has not been made perfect in love." I think a few years ago, there's a message I did on YouTube at a conference years ago on being fearless. And it's a valuable topic to master because walking in courage and in peace and in fearlessness really can set us free. So before we move on, I want to show you all this quick little promo for the booklet that we have, and we'll see you in just a minute.
Life comes with all kinds of storms. But when your boat is sinking, you might want to step out and learn how to be a water walker. Log on to GoodDayGTN.com to get your free copy today.
Well, welcome back. Again, I encourage you to check out that booklet if you haven't already. And I'm excited about this topic about inspiration versus distraction because I find this is an area where it's tricky to learn the right balance. I actually had to learn this the hard way. When does something good become something bad, and when is something a waste of time, right? What's the right balance? Some people go too extreme one direction or the other. And This can be with simple things, lighthearted things. It can also be with deep spiritual things. But, some things I've found can be very inspiring, and then if you do it too much, it can become a distraction, right? Same, again, I'm just kind of fleshing out the title here for a moment, but sometimes it's very valuable to prepare, right? There's a saying, at 𝗙𝗃𝗃 we often say, preparation time is never wasted time, unless it becomes wasted time, right? If somebody's like, I need to keep preparing and keep preparing and keep preparing, and they never actually step out of the boat, then preparation, which is a fantastic thing, can become a form of playing it safe and just saying, I'm just going to keep preparing forever until God forces me out of the boat and everything's easy and I'll never make a mistake. And so sometimes a good thing can turn into a bad thing when it turns into fear or a distraction or a form of procrastination. And so, again, this can mean a lot of different things, right? Imagine you have this amazing moment with God. Maybe it's like during worship or at church or something, or maybe you're just on a walk or in prayer, you're reading the Bible, and you get you have this amazing moment with God where you're inspired and you're like, I want to change the world. But then you're like, but first I need a few more of those moments. And so you start talking yourself out of it, saying, oh, that was amazing. And then it's easy to just go back and say, I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing and just try to relive that moment of inspiration. And maybe in 5 years or 10 years, maybe then I'll actually do it. And I can see this happen a lot. Again, there's this balance because preparation is a very good thing. Inspiration is a very good thing. But sometimes we use it as an excuse to not do anything and to just sit back and keep going in circles and living the same life that we've been living. Right? It's like the children of Israel in the desert for 40 years. I mean, again, that was, God made it last 40 years because of their disobedience, but sometimes we choose to keep going around in circles in the desert when God's saying, like, the promised land is right there, you just got to go. And it's going to be hard work, but staying here is hard work too. I see this happen even at Bible college. I'm a big fan of Bible college. I'm a big fan of learning and growing and being in a training environment. I think everyone would benefit from 1 or 2 or more years of diving into the Word and just really intensely spending time with God and learning and growing. There's seasons in life. I think we should be lifelong learners. But at the same time, sometimes it's good to have intense seasons where you really dive into something, where you can't do that. When I was younger and had fewer responsibilities, I could spend 8-10 hours a day studying and stuff like that. Now I can't do that. Now I have to do it in smaller bites. So I'm a fan of Bible colleges, but at the same time, sometimes you see people who go from one Bible college to another one, to another one, to another one, to another one. And I don't even mind people. I mean, I have no problem with people going to multiple. Sometimes people go to 1 or 2 and it wasn't what they're looking for, and the third one might be the right one, or fourth one. So again, there's balance to all of this. My point is, some people, they don't realize that they're trying to study their way to victory and just go from one to the next and not actually launch out into what their calling is. At some point we have to step out and do what we're called to do. Or even here at 𝗙𝗃𝗃, sometimes you see people, and I'm not saying everyone who does this, again, all this is asterisks and balance. But if somebody finishes 3 years and then they do a 4th year, I did 4 years here, but then a 5th year, a 6th year, a 7th year, right? After a while, we don't allow people to come back. If they're like, I love this so much, I want to do every single 3rd year track, and they want to stay for 8 years. I think we allow like 2 or 3 3rd years max, because after a while it becomes counterproductive where someone starts to say like, oh, I forget how to actually get out there in the real world and do this stuff. So again, preparation is valuable, but there's a moment where it can turn into procrastination, and that's where it becomes this unhealthy thing, and it's different for everybody. James 1:22 says, but be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. Right? And so you can see this, and I'm not just talking about one type of thing. This can be many types of things. It can be education, right? You see this where people go to a regular college and then they get a bachelor's and a master's and a PhD, then another PhD. They keep studying. And then it's like, well, the point of college isn't to go to college more. The whole point of college is to use it, right? You learn things, now go live it. When I was in the military, my main job when I was active duty was a linguist. I studied Korean for 2 years as my full-time job. And one thing that the teachers told us was perfectionists have a very hard time learning new languages. They say because perfectionists, they don't want to make mistakes, and so they insist on learning and understanding perfectly before they just try it. Like, that's not how languages work. You have to just try it and mess up. It's part of the learning process. So they say people who just go for it and just try to have conversations and they make lots of mistakes and people make fun of them and they just laugh it off, those are the people who learn it much faster. The ones who are like, I refuse to mess up. I'm not even going to try to say it until I know how to say it perfectly. Like that's very challenging, right? That's how kids, when they learn how to speak, I mean, my kids right now, right? They're 7, 5, one's about to be 3, and then one's about to be born. But when they're learning how to talk, they just go for it, and they say the wrong word, they use the wrong grammar, they mess up, they use a saying that they've heard us say, but they don't really know how to use it yet, and it's really funny. They just go for it, right? They mess up like crazy, but that's how they learn, and that's kind of how we need to be also, and say, I'm just going to go for it. I'll give it my best, and I'm not going to wait until I'm perfect before I step out of the boat, before I go for it. Again, you can go on and on with different types of examples. Anything good can become something bad if it becomes an excuse for not actually going out and doing it, right? Even like reading Christian books or listening to teachings, I'm all for that. I think that we should learn forever, but learning forever is not the goal, right? The whole point of learning is so we can use it, not just so we can sit back and become this little scholars or critique other people's doctrine. The whole point of learning isn't just so that we can keep learning. The whole point is so that we can start to apply it and live it in our lives, right? Even reading the Bible, I know some of you might misinterpret what I'm saying here, but the whole point of reading the Bible isn't to just read the Bible more, right? Jesus didn't say, the most successful Christian life is if you sleep 4 hours a day and read the Bible 20 hours a day. Like, don't do anything else, just read your Bible. No. Again, the point is to apply it. Is say, now that this has transformed me, I'm going to go live this, and how I treat other people, how I overflow with this. Again, I'm not against reading the Bible. I'm saying if you only read the Bible and then you just become a Bible scholar, but you don't live it, you're not walking in freedom, you're not walking in joy, you don't actually know God, you have no relationship with God, you just are only spending time studying, then it's building your house on the sand instead of building your house on the rock, because Jesus says you have to do what I'm telling you, don't just hear it. So, one of the ways, I'll jump to a lighter example here just to kind of help make the point, but I first noticed this with stories. So, you've heard me talk about this many times, but I really enjoy stories of all sorts, movies, TV shows, video games, songs, all kinds of stories. Novels, whatever else, and stories really inspire me. When I was a teenager, I realized, man, I really enjoy stories. And what happened was, I started to say, maybe I should just make stories and enjoy stories, and that's what I'm supposed to do with my life. But I realized stories inspire me, but the whole reason they inspire me is because I want my life to be an adventure, right? I like to hear stories about other people having adventures, and I realized I'm starting to get focused on stories, when in reality, the whole reason I like them is because I want to live an adventure, right? And so sometimes, I found stories inspire me, but now they're, if I go too far, they're actually a distraction from living my own adventure. And so I needed to find that right balance. So then I went the other extreme, and I was like, I'm never going to watch another show, never read another book, never, watch another movie, because I'm going to go live my adventure. And I realized that was too extreme also, because they were inspiring, and if you get rid of your inspiration, after a while you realize you're just going on fumes. And I found that my creativity dries up if I'm not constantly keeping myself excited and inspired. And so I realized, there's a balance to this. I don't have to choose all one way or all another way. Again, I thought, hey, when I'm growing up, I can be inspired, but now I'm done, and I'm just going to go live it. And God was just showing me, you can continue to be inspired throughout your life. You don't have to say that was for when I was a kid. You can continue. And the tricky thing is to find the right balance for different seasons in life. I heard someone say, I was watching a YouTube clip the other day, and someone said video games can be like a proxy for your career. And I found this to be very true in many ways, is that for sometimes, you pour all your creativity, right? Some video games, it's all about getting better at it. You're being competitive. You're overcoming, whether it's the game itself or other players who are playing it. You get better and better. You overcome things. You get more achievements. You unlock better equipment, better power, stuff like that. It's the same satisfaction that many people get from a career. So what can happen is someone who gets addicted to video games, then they never get a career because the video game has become a replacement. So like instead of going to do the real thing that's more fun and more satisfying and more helpful to people around me, they get addicted to the replacement, right? So I realized, video games inspire me, but actually it's more fun to do this stuff for real, right? If you play a game where you're the ruler of a country or the galaxy or whatever the game is, one of my favorite games is about being over an empire in outer space, right? And so, okay, obviously I can't do that in real life, but why do you enjoy that kind of stuff, right? It's, you feel challenged, you get to make interesting decisions, you have responsibility, you have to look at details, you have little puzzles to solve. And I found, actually, the more I enjoy my work, the less I need that from a game. And so I used to, when I was a teenager, when I was in my early 20s and single, I could play games for, 8 hours a day, and not all the time, but there were times when I could do that. And I found, like, ever since I've had a family and had a job that I really enjoy, I barely do that, but I found at the same time, I still enjoy those things, but much, much less. They're just a small source of inspiration, but I'm not looking for my fulfillment in them. They're just something fun on the side. And I can take it or leave it. So again, there's this balance, because if you say, I'll never watch movies again, I'll never read books again, I'll never play games again, then it could sap your creativity down the road. I'm not saying it's that for you. Whatever your source of inspiration is, maybe it's fishing or golfing or whatever it is, something that's just for fun that kind of inspires you, I'd say maintain some of that, but it fluctuates over time. If you try to learn forever and never do anything, then you're not going to go anywhere. But at the same time, if you stop dreaming, if you stop being inspired, if you stop preparing, then you also hit another wall, right? If you say, I'm done preparing, I'm just going to go out and step out of the boat and go live this life, that's great. But you need to continue preparing for the next season and the next season and the next season. And like I say, I don't think that we should ever just say, I'm done growing, I'm done knowing God, I'm done learning new skill sets. One of the things I appreciate about my dad, he's one of our main teachers here at 𝗪𝗪. He also has a show on GTN. But I've never seen my dad coast. Like every single time I talk with him about teaching, he's always trying to grow, to get deeper insight, to improve in his delivery. And he's been doing this for decades now. And I've never seen him say, I'm good enough, I'll just phone it in, I'll just wing it. Every single time he's actively trying to improve, and that's all. I've always enjoyed that, right? I always enjoy, and even in secular topics, I've enjoyed professors who are still passionate about their topic and are still growing, instead of ones who just say, like, I'm good enough, I'm going to move on to other things. So I think that we need to find this balance where we do things, but we still keep growing, right? We're still studying and learning, but we apply it. And it can fluctuate. Like right now, I would say it's probably like 80-20 or 90-10. Of like 80% of my time I'm doing things, and 20% I'm stirring myself up and learning and being inspired, or maybe 90-10, depends. When I was younger, right, when you're a teenager, when you're in your early 20s, you might be much more like 90% preparation, 10% doing things. It can fluctuate over time. So again, I think the key is to have both in the right balance. And like I say, inspiration's great, but if it turns into a distraction, then you've gone too far. But then don't go so far the other way that you stop inspiring yourself, right? Same with preparation. Preparation's fantastic unless it turns into procrastination. And so if it does, just say, okay, I need to start doing things and prepare a smaller percentage of my time. So again, that's my main encouragement, is don't let it turn into the bad thing. And if it does, just find the right balance. Don't go all one way, all the other. Just find the right balance. You don't have to outgrow preparation. You don't have to outgrow inspiration or fun things. And so anyway, it's one of those tricky things in life of getting the right balance in things. There's different seasons, but again, I've just found I've made this mistake in the past, and I see other people make this mistake where they try to do too much of one thing and then they get stuck in that rut, and really it should be a balance of both. So That's it for the main topic for today. I'm going to jump to some Q&A real quick as we wrap up this episode. So the first question, and some of these might overlap with questions I've answered in the past. But this one says, how do I avoid toxic relationships that drain my energy? So I imagine this could be any type of toxic relationship. So first of all, I would say we don't want to have the mindset that people themselves are toxic, because then we can start saying like, oh, you're a toxic person, you're an evil person, and treating them in a negative way. I would say like this relationship isn't, I don't know. I just think we don't want to become harsh in our judgment of other people. But at the same time, we do want to have boundaries. And so if we realize someone's dragging me away, or somebody is a leech in my life, maybe they're drawn to me just because they want to suck all my energy away or take up all my time, you do need boundaries. So I'd say if you realize that a relationship is kind of pushing you the wrong direction, boundaries, you don't owe people everything. You don't have to spend time with people. You can set some standards and prioritize. It's kind of like having a phone on you, where when I was growing up, before cell phones, if somebody called your house and you weren't there or you didn't answer the phone, then they just didn't get a hold of you. But nowadays, it's like now that everyone carries a cell phone at all times, for some reason there's an expectation that if someone calls you, you need to answer. If someone texts you, you need to reply within 5 minutes. And I miss the days of people just like, you text somebody or you call somebody and they'll get back to you in 2 days, right? I mean, there's this expectation of everything's fast. If I'm hanging out with my wife and someone calls, why would I say, well, they're more important than you? It's like, no, I'll get to that later. I'll prioritize the person that I'm with, not the person that I'm not with. Obviously there's exceptions if there's emergencies. So I would say you don't have to give everybody what they want from you. Not everybody who wants your time deserves your time or is owed your time. You have to be a steward of your time. And part of stewardship is to say no to people, no to opportunities that aren't the ones that you want. So next question, I'll do one quick one. How do I know if I'm in a healthy romantic relationship, and what should I do if I'm not? Well, that's definitely an answer I can give in 10 seconds. So how do I know if I'm in a healthy romantic relationship? What should I do if I'm not? Well, I can't answer this whole thing right here. It's a much bigger topic, but I would say if you know that you're not in a healthy romantic relationship, just end things, right? Don't drag things out. Don't wonder, right? One thing that God helped me with is he said, confusion is an answer. If I'm confused, it means I don't have peace. If I don't have peace, that means God's not leading me to that, at least not right now. And that's something that would have saved me a lot of time, is I used to be so confused, and I thought, I'm confused, I need to work this thing out. God's like, no, confusion is a lack of peace. That is your answer. So move on, focus on me. When it's me, you'll know it. So I hope that's helpful. As we wrap up, again, I encourage you to go to gooddayGTN.com to check out this book, How to Become a Water Walker by Andrew Wommack, and you can get it for free on our website. We'll see you next time, and have a great day.